I'm going to go ahead and open it up to Amber Hamilton from Slippery Rock University. I am so delighted to have her as our user spotlight guest this week. Amber, if you want to go ahead and do your thing. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. And also fun fact, because I know on there it has instructor and academic advisor, but I got a promotion. So now I'm assistant professor and coordinator at the tutorial center, which is pretty awesome. Or I'm like
Awesome.
happy and proud of.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I actually have like, I guess a few slides to share, if that's okay. Am I able to hit share?
Yeah, you can go ahead and click the share button and share your screen.
There we go. There we go. And there we go. Okay. Hopefully it'll pop up and do me right today. Perfect. Can you see the lovely flowers and everything?
Yes, looks gorgeous.
Awesome. So hello, everyone. As Rachel mentioned, my name is Amber Hamilton, and I work at Slippery Rock University, which is located in Western Pennsylvania. So we're an hour north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So go Steelers if that's your vibe. If it's not, I'm sorry. I don't care either way. But yeah, so our institution, it is, I want to say a mid-sized institution. So we're comprised of about 8,000 undergraduate students, and then we're at 1,500 for about graduate students at the university. And so I've been working at Slippery Rock itself in total for about 6 years. However, in my current role as like in the faculty realm in the tutorial center side of things, I've only been in this role for going on like 3.5 years at this point. So I started out in the student affairs side and then kind of pivoted to like faculty academic services. And I had no idea, honestly, on how to really kind of like manage a tutorial center in a sense. So coming in, unfortunately, I don't have a like predecessor because he passed away. So all the information and knowledge, I just had to kind of like learn and pick up on my own. So in taking over this particular position, I started to kind of observe what was happening around me and figuring out what's working and what's not working. And I started in the pandemic. So the very big flaw that I realized that's not working is our management system. It was a homegrown system. It was very complicated. A lot of our surveys and everything was all on paper. And even pairing the tutors with the tutees, it was basically done on paper as well. And so I was like, we have to do something, we have to change. And so I ended up doing some research and looking into other platforms, and I found Accudemia. And I was like, you know what? This seems to have a like beautiful interface that had like works with students, and it seems to do what I need it to do. And so we gave it a test run with, I want to say, Rachel, you were there, and then Chad was there giving the demo. And I just knew like this would be it. Mainly because there were a lot of features that we didn't have before that I'm like, we really need this now. And so I was happy to pick up like some cool tips during the demo, but even after having like that one-on-one like conversation with Nick when it came to IT and connecting things, or even with Rachel in terms of customer support, learning more and more about what the system can offer us. So even looking at like the interface for us, one of the favorite things that I love is that we can do announcements. And so here, this is our current interface of what we use in terms of announcements. We had a welcome back push for students. We have a digital platform called tutor.com that we use as like a supplement for tutoring. If we don't have enough tutors for that area, and during the break, so winter break and summer break, we're able to kind of share more about like that information in the announcements portal, which I love. But also this allows us, like this platform allows us to not be selfish in a sense of sharing it. I'm really big on sharing. And so in previous years, I would actually have contact information for all the other like spots on campus or resources on campus, such as the Writing Center, as well as our peer academic coaching team that we have here in our math assistance lab. But then I thought to myself, why can't we all share this particular platform? Like, why can't we come together and make it work so students aren't going around looking for different avenues or outlets to find the help that they need? And so I had conversations about that with my peers on campus, and luckily, this past year, we were actually able to have 2 centers. So I started out as a single center, just having only like the Center for Career and Academic Progress on here. It umbrellaed the peer academic coaching team, myself, and the math team, and the writing center. But now we've actually divided it to where it's myself, the tutorial center, and then the peer academic coaching like has their own centers, because we've realized with a lot of the information that we capture from Accudemia, there's a lot of rich data, which I'll share a little bit about that in a second, that we want to make sure we can kind of keep those separate a little bit, because you'll see in one of my numbers and reports that like we oversee a lot of students in our area for tutorial center, like definitely over the thousands in a semester, and the peer academic coaching is growing themselves too. So we were able to, you know, create 2 different centers, but still try to provide a lot of support within that. Actually, when I was at a conference, I learned like that you can put all these images in here and make the announcements when students create an appointment really clean and clear. And I loved that aspect of it too. So we decided to adopt that and put that into our particular like notifications for students as they create appointments. Now, the big benefit for me in terms of a big challenge that Accudemia has helped overcome, especially as I started in this new realm of tutorial center services, is that we didn't have enough tutors for a lot of subject areas such as our chemistry and our biology and our physics. So we started to implement group tutoring. However, in the homegrown like system that we were using, it was really hard and convoluted to actually do that. And so when we got Accudemia, at first it was a little hard to do that because students don't know that they're signing up for a particular group session. But here we're able to actually, you know, number them and make it clear to students, this is what you're signing up for, this is where it's located, and then hopefully you can find the tutor or group section that works best for you. So within this past year, we're able to do individual one-on-one tutoring that we offer to students, and we offer that in the tutoring center. We do group tutoring, which is 2 or more students in a group. So students know that they're going to be placed in a group and they are going to be in the tutorial center. We offer some Zoom, and I know that Accudemia does the Zoom integration with institutions. And so we were able to kind of use that a little bit more in the pandemic. It's kind of fizzled out a little bit now because students want in person, but we have that option there for students to use that. And then I work with the physics department and the math department to do kind of like remote tutoring in a sense. Like there's still tutors that I hire in the tutoring center and they work for us, but there's a lot of equipment for physics in the physics lab. And so I'm able at least to put in here for a service like, hey, you're going to get physics group tutoring, but it's going to be located in the lab, and clearly articulate that there. The same for the math assistance center. Like they have a lot of the resources in like the same building. So that way we can kind of say like, hey, you're still getting tutoring from us, but just meet in this particular room, and it makes it clear, beautiful communication with students. And that's what I highly value, is just communications with students, and making sure they're not confused, lost, or feel like they're not being supported in any way. So the number one reason I kind of alluded to why I loved Accudemia is because of the reports. Like we're able to learn so much more data that I didn't have before with a homegrown system, in the sense that my favorite here is like going to be the tutor hours, as well as the attendance by service and the traffic analysis. If you haven't pulled those, I know it can be hard to read. Like you can pull it as a Excel file. You can also pull it as a Adobe PDF file. There's so many ways to pull it, and sometimes, yes, it can look a little confusing, but I promise you, once you find your groove and what works for you, it really works to help inform you all about like what works for your centers, or what are some areas that you need to improve on. And so when I heard that in the pitch for the demo, I was like in love. And so now that I have the system, I don't think I can live without the reports. And so I don't know if you're using them at your institutions just yet, but I highly recommend that you play around with a lot of the reports, because you know I just can't live without it. So for me, I love to use the attendance summary report, which you'll see a little bit here. This is from last fall, in the sense that for the tutorial center, we were actually able to capture how many visits we had. So as you can see, when we did individual tutoring, we had like 549 visitors, like unique visitors, but we had over 2,000 visits in the like center alone, we would have never captured that information in our homegrown system. So much so that like we tried to like do some type of analysis from the paper stuff and what we pulled from this attendance report itself. And we've just realized, or we, said in our own statistics, like we're basically at 900% more like visits than we've had before because we weren't able to capture such good information without this particular system, which is amazing. And I'm extremely grateful for that. And so even just looking at the unique visitors, we're able to see that almost 800 students were touched by like our division. And the unique visits were almost at 3,500 students like coming into, or 3,500 visits happening among those 800 students, which is great. So I love this particular attendance summary report because it definitely helps us. I don't know if any of you are doing any of the certifications, especially like for CRLA, or the NCLCA has like a LCC one, but you have to do direct hours for tutors to get their certification with that. And then our institution recently was certified through CRLA, so I'm really excited about that. But one thing that's really helpful here is having the tutor hours to prove that direct hours, but also this is how I prove or have documentation that my tutors are getting paid from payroll. And so with that being said, like we each week on Fridays, we pull a tutor hours report for the 2-week pay period. And then we're able to showcase, okay, this is how much or how many hours little Johnny or Jane Doe here has worked. And then this is how much they're supposed to get paid for the week based on the rates that we have. You see here that Jane Doe has 43 hours. That's in a given semester. That's not in a given week or 2-week process. But even so, on average, I can at least see how much my tutors are working, and that's about an average of 5 to 10 hours per week. But I can actually hardcore say that because of Accudemia, and I have that hardcore evidence of that. So this is great for us for payroll, and it's great for us for certifications. I mentioned traffic analysis, and actually this was very insightful for me because I didn't know when students were coming in the tutorial center. And it also helps me realize like, okay, when should I be most attentive to what's happening? And so it turns out from last semester, looking at the traffic analysis, when we pulled the report to see how many students are visiting the center or having a session during the days of the week, because I was really intrigued by that. And I thought Friday was going to be our lowest day of people coming into the office. And it turns out it is the highest day of people coming into the office. We've had quite a few group sessions to meet on Fridays. So for me, that was like, whoa, that's a crazy outlier. I didn't expect it. Definitely expected maybe a Tuesday or a Thursday, but Friday did not see that coming. So that was something that was extremely helpful to our office in terms of making sure that we are well staffed on Fridays and also providing like assistance and hours on Friday so that way students can get the support they need. You do see that Saturday and Sunday also pop up on there. And even this report itself has informed me, okay, maybe we should try for some Sunday, like opening on Sunday because we're closed on the weekends technically. This Sunday and Saturday, we have physics tutoring that happens in that physics lab. And it's clear that students want help, especially on the weekends. So why not give it a shot and give, the weekends a chance in terms of being open. And so that's one of the changes that we're going to implement this year. Just got to make sure I got all the staffing and the right people to do that. One of the other things that I love, and I don't have to do this anymore because Accudemia does it, is the surveys. So we were able to put the cursor on there for like, hey, here's the 3-question survey that we want students to take as they're exiting or signing out of the kiosk when they're done with their appointment. And so we were able to kind of, put our 3 top questions that we want. This one in this session improved my understanding of the course material. And just even looking at the number of people who actually participated in the survey, it makes me happy or it blows my mind because on average in the past, when I sent out Qualtrics surveys to students and offered gift cards and stuff for them to do, I would only get about 94 responses. But as you can see here on the screen, I'm getting 358 responses of what people are feeling. And it seems like nobody is disagreeing in any way, like they feel like they were able to be supported in the session. And so at least I'm capturing some data to kind of share and report back to my superiors and also just understand for myself, okay, maybe I can continue doing these surveys and putting more intentional things that I'm trying to change soon in here, and I would get a higher response rate because that cursor is listed on there as they exit from their tutorial center meeting or appointment. The last thing that I have on here is how it's really like impacted like our particular like university and our center itself. We create I guess a report, a tutorial center report. We create one every semester, but the spring one is more so encompassing of all year. And even just looking at some of the things that we posted on our most recent report is just that Accudemia has helped us in a lot of ways. A lot of what I mentioned in terms of the reports that we pull and continue to use, but also just the operational factors of it, such as like, say, for instance, Justin mentioned earlier today in his presentation about the support tickets. I actually was able to watch, the launch presentation of that on the webinar, like as a playback, and saw that the support tickets were in there. And I've been going in the classrooms and talking about that to the students, saying, hey, if you can't find a tutor like in the particular subject area, write a support ticket and I will try to find a tutor for you. And that helps with the communication from the students speaking up and saying, hey, I can't find a tutor for Econ 319. Now I know, Ms. Amber, the coordinator, knows, okay, go look for a 319 tutor and hopefully can get back to that student and put in progress or in session. And I've actually had about, I want to say 8 tickets since we started the beginning of the school year, which is great in the sense of like students are using these features and it's helping us operationally try to find small ways to improve the center. And so like, I can't speak but so much highly of like all the new features that have been happening and how it's impacted our institution and our operations, because as I mentioned at the beginning, we were on paper. Like everything was written down. Surveys were taken on pieces of paper. Like signing in was taken on pieces of paper and like writing your signature. But now we've gone from signing in on a piece of paper to signing in at the kiosk. We've gone from tracking how many people have done physics tutoring by counting the number of names on the sheet to just looking at the report that says this is what this is. And even as I mentioned with the communication and knowing if a student needs a tutor, or even the communication of like, this is what I want to go over, so the tutors have that knowledge in advance, is really helpful for us. So I feel very like pleased and happy with kind of like how it's helped shape the tutorial center, especially as it's helping us even with certifications to get even more recognized on a national level. But just even in the university community, I think everybody has responded very positively. And I've actually done some survey responses too in terms of like comparison of like, how did you like the old way versus the new way? And I want to say there's 98% are like, we enjoy Accudemia and how smooth it is. That 1%, they just liked that we did all the work for them. But like Accudemia, of course, it's a little bit more processes. You have to click through things. So the students and the, faculty members are seeing the great improvements and speaking on that as well. So we've thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed the reports. I can't stop talking about that enough. But I'm always looking forward to all the new and fun updates that continue to come. So that's really all I think I wanted to share in terms of, there we go. In terms of that, let me see, stop that. And at least for training my students on using Accudemia, it's actually pretty easy. That's the only last thing I thought of saying. Each time that I hire a tutor, they have new tutor orientation, and I will screenshot a lot of the processes. Like, this is how you request a tutor, this is how you cancel, reschedule an appointment. And then I do have student assistants, undergraduate assistants, who assist me with the operations. And we have a bi-weekly meeting, and each week we do talk about things and challenges we're having with Accudemia. So I'm able to slowly train them on little concepts in terms of, this is how you create a user group, and this is how you create exceptions, so that way we can make sure everything is going pretty smoothly. So we meet on a bi-weekly basis to make sure everybody's understanding and things are going smoothly as much as possible. And if there's recommendations, I actually ask my undergraduate staff for recommendations during those meetings, and then I'll shoot them over into the Accudemia feedback box. So that way, hopefully that's something that they can create in the future, or other people may have the same concerns, and we can hopefully get that in the future. But yeah, that's a little bit about how kind of we utilize Accudemia at Slippery Rock and how much I thoroughly enjoyed it. We're in our second year of using the system itself. And so like when I say it makes things so much easier, it's so much easier. Like, and I'm in love.
Well, that's awesome, Amber. Thank you. That was so generous of your time and very lots of great information there. I do remember when you all started using it and you jumped right in, and that's really great to see that you all have been having a lot of success with it and that you've been utilizing the newer features and the reports and finding ways to help have academia work with your processes instead of having to kind of work around them, which is always what we like to see, always like what we like to help people do if possible. Well, I am going to thank you again, Amber, for your time. We really appreciate it. And then, of course, as always, for everyone here today, we do have a survey. And if anybody does have any questions for Amber in the future, please feel free to get in touch with me, Rachel C at Engineerica.com. I'm happy to pass those along. But thank you again, and thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you for anybody watching this recording. For those of you who are here live with us, I am going to paste a link to our monthly session survey in the chat if you have a couple minutes to take that if you haven't already. But thank you everyone for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.